Well, I'm trying to stay up on top of what's going on with Western North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee. Again, I know that people have been affected all the way up from the Gulf Coast, of Florida, all the way up through Georgia and into the Carolinas. But I think, particularly Florida, a hurricane is not a new thing. We've got programs and government things set up, and even volunteer things to handle or to address it. Whereas when you have a situation like you do up in North Carolina, around Asheville and West North Carolina, it's just something that people aren't ready for. So I wanted to talk about that some, talk more about it, and in particular, on this video, I've talked before a little bit about FEMA. I'll put that as an attachment at the end, about what's FEMA's role. A lot of people are very angry at FEMA for being inept, etc. And I'm not going to be an apologist for any government agency. Not that there aren't good people in government. You just get a big organization, and efficiencies are a difficult thing to have. Um, but in this video, I want to address the death toll issue a little bit. Uh, you know, this is the kind of thing that reminds you of disasters like, let's say, the San Francisco earthquake of 1906, where that just flattened buildings uh, uh, throughout San Francisco. It caused fires that burnt even more, and San Francisco built back very quickly after that, and their codes changed. See, this is an issue with what the people who live in North Carolina are facing, is that, and as a landscape architect, I've dealt with the expansion of codes throughout my professional career. And that's just what happens. It's one thing when you're a rural area where no one lives, and people just take care of each other, and there's no expectation of government really, and there's no uh, people know each other. They're less likely to be suing each other over issues because they're neighbors, and not as we have. Everybody's alienated in some form from everybody else. You hardly know if you live in a subdivision, you hardly know your neighbor that's five houses down the street from you. And if you live in an apartment building, you may know the people on your floor. So it's really easy to be alienated in our current contemporary conditions from so many people. But when you live in a place where you know your neighbors, and neighbors do take care of each other, they're very quick to do so, then you don't have a lot of code. And look at the Amish and things like that. Those people are just taking care of each other, helping each other build buildings, etc. Now, obviously, they have to live by local codes, but my point is, codes increase in intensity. So the San Francisco fire is one of those things that started affecting codes, right? And there's other things that have happened around the country, and so everybody sort of copies the next guy's code, right? And sometimes it makes no sense for your community, but it's the code that your leaders assumed was the code they needed to have because that city down the road has that code. So that's just the way it is. And it's a problem right now for the people in North Carolina because they can't even do things like build tiny houses on their land or anything like that. They aren't allowed to bring in temporary things even. And that there's all kind of other issues about whether they can even afford to build a house back on their land for other reasons. But I wanted to talk about this issue. Another big disaster, the Dust Bowl just wiped people out. We went out west. People migrated out west. They bought farms and ranches. They stripped the topsoil, and then you had the Dust Bowl that just lasted for a few years, and people could no longer live there. You had to move, etc. And then there's the what's another one? 1889 Johnson Pennsylvania, or Johnsonville fire in Pennsylvania, I think it was. And there were 2,000 people, excuse me, flood. It was a flood, not a fire. And 2,000 people got killed in that. I think that's right. Let me see. Yeah, that's right. So, disasters happen. The issue that seems to a lot of people are having concerns about, one of them in North Carolina, and etc., is why is the death toll so low? And I'm going to attach a video by John Ward. He's sort of there on the ground, sticking with the people, and he really has done a lot of different videos that are worth. If you want to know what's going on, somebody's trying to help people get things done. He does pretty good videos. But he's done one concerned with the, let's see, the DMORT is what it's called, the Disaster Mortuary Operational Response Team, which was created in 1992, and the purpose of it being created was to help local hospitals, which are not equipped to take all these people into their hospital mortuaries. They're just overwhelmed. So the federal government created this DMORT, as they call it, the Disaster Mortuary Operational Response Team, to come in and help with that. And one of the things that ramifications of that is they have to have a place to have these trailers. These you might have remembered during the pandemic time when everybody thought everybody was dying. Well, and then you found people going up to the hospitals in downtown New York, etc., and they'd have these big trailers outside. Well, there was nothing happening to the trailers. They were there because they were DMORT trailers probably, and they were there to put cadavers in of all these dead people who were supposed to be dying, and they weren't. But that's what those trailers were. And in North Carolina, there are places where they've had to set up these camps or these locations, and they have all these DMORT trailers. They're not FEMA trailers, they're DMORT trailers, where as they collect bodies and body parts, they can keep them in a refrigerated place until they're identified. So so this is the program that's sort of set up to help with the situation. Now, unfortunately, I've looked at a lot of different videos on people who have dogs who are rescue dogs, and it's great to have all these people who are volunteering to rescue dogs. Unfortunately, my understanding is because of some of the chemicals from locations that got washed away, and the chemicals got into the river and into the mud and into the debris, these chemicals have killed some of these dogs or made them very sick. And that's very sad. But they have dogs who, of course, go out and they sniff around, and once they find something, they'll stand there and let the people who work with them know that, okay, this is a location that could have a dead body there. So they will find, they found some debris areas that have dozens and dozens of locations where there could be a deceased person or body parts or whatnot. So the impression, therefore, is when you've got dogs walking around, sniffing around and finding just hundreds and hundreds of places throughout the region that has potential body parts in it, potential persons in it, then that's creates the idea that there are, maybe 20,000 dead people or something, and who really knows for sure? But we know that what is it? I don't even know what the number is. It was like around 300 a couple of weeks ago. And people knew that there was a lot more than that. They knew that in some communities, they knew that, well, there used to be, 25 people in that little area, and their houses all got washed away. And we don't, obviously, they're not alive anymore. They're stuck in some tree down the river, sadly. But not all search dogs are the same. So you have some search dogs are just search dogs, right? And they're recovery dogs. They're trying to find people and help them out. And then, but you have to have a specially trained dog to be a cadaver dog. And so that's one of the things they've had a problem with, is getting enough cadaver dogs to do the work that needs to be done. So therefore, they have the lesser trained search dogs, recovery dogs, they have more false findings. That is, they may be finding something, but it may not be a cadaver. So therefore, there's confusion about exactly how many lost people are there still stuck in. And of course, there's areas where, the dogs. It's in some of these floodplains. It's brought in like 5 or 10 feet of dirt over the valley. So there could be people down on 10 feet down there. And of course, these dogs are amazing. They smell all, they can find all kind of things. So, but what is it? That's the question. Let's see. Now, bodies aren't initially reported even when they're found, because by the policy of the government, of those who do this work, first they've got to find out who it is, so that they can, because the first thing they're going to do is inform their relatives, their family. So you don't just pull somebody out and say, here's somebody. They don't know who that somebody is, so they want to identify the person and inform the family. Then they give you the information on that number. So 2 more people get added. They've and as you watch John's work, he'll talk about I think on a day that he's talking about, it took like a week or so before the 2 people that they had found were actually added to the official number. And then you have the issue of a lot of as far as false findings goes, a lot of things aren't a whole person, unfortunately. And if you've seen some of these videos, the vehicles, I mean, they are totally destroyed. They are just crumpled up like a aluminum can. It's a very sad thing. They look like they came. If you've been to a junkyard and seen a car just pounded and compressed, right? Or you might have seen it on TV on some of these detective shows. They love to do them at junkyards. But that car is just pounded and just crushed. And so you can imagine what a human body goes through getting taken down a river and just smashed against rocks and trees and vehicles and mobile homes and houses and everything else. It's a sad, sad situation. So there's a lot of false findings. Sometimes they're only finding pieces of people's bodies. So therefore, you can have a lot of findings that may not be a full cadaver. And again, you're finding just a piece of someone. It's hard to identify who they are and get their official number. We probably won't know the official number on this, even if we ever get one. If we ever get a real good official number, it'll be years. We won't know. So I think I've covered the main things. So I'm going to share that if you'll look in the comments below, I'm going to share John's video on the DMORT, and I'll share some more contact information about where you can help, because one of the what's important now is God bless those who have died, but what's important are the living. What are they going to do? How do they face the freezing weather up there in the mountains? These are people. They're not urban people who are used to being housed in apartment buildings. These are people who live out on the land and may not have a neighbor for miles. And the idea of, if I don't know if it's even available for them, but if you did find some facility, like in Florida, everybody goes or in the South, across the South where hurricanes hit, people go to schools and things like that. And they set up cots, and you're in there at least for a few days. But these people, even in that circumstance, I mean, can you imagine living in the local school or armory or wherever, the agricultural center that might have some big pavilion or something? Can you imagine living there for months and months? Well, they're not doing that. They need to get on with their lives. They need to protect their property, upgrade their property, clean their property, etc. You don't need to live be staying 10 or 15 miles away from your property, and you have to go back and forth to just be able to work on it. So we need to help these people. We need to help people to keep their families from getting separated. You know, they're people who are used to more solitude, and we need to help them out. So I'll share some of that information below. But check out John's work talking about the DMORT, and hope this was helpful for you. Have a good day. Oh, most of all, keep these folks in your prayers. That's probably the most important thing to do.